I'm a stoner, I'm a stoner, I'm a stoner. I'm a stoner, I'm a stoner, I'm a stoner. I'm a stoner, I'm a stoner, I'm a stoner. I'm a motherfucker.
Welcome to Legalization Nation. Let's get down to the facts.
Roll it up. On August 1st, 2017, Senator Cory Booker introduced a bill to end federal prohibition of cannabis. If you don't know who Cory Booker is, you should know. We'll let him explain.
This is a very important bill I'm about to introduce, but I want to give you a little background first and foremost. We live in a country where we swear this ideal. We put our hand over our heart, and we believe very strongly that we are to be a nation of liberty and justice for all. Well, one way in which we have not fulfilled that promise, that ideal, is through our criminal justice system. And this hasn't been always the case in terms of what we're seeing today in our modern criminal justice system. And what has happened really is the so-called war on drugs. Since the 1980s, our federal prison population has gone up 800%. Overall in our country, a 500% increase in incarceration. Not only is that taking billions and billions of dollars of our taxpayer money, but we are not seeing the equal application of the criminal justice system. We're not seeing people being arrested in any way that reflect our values.
The kind of thing that ought to be legalized. It ought not to be minimized, that it's in fact a very real danger. The creating of knowledge that this drug is dangerous, you cannot play with it, it's not funny, it's not something to laugh about, and trying to send that message with clarity that good people don't smoke marijuana.
It is not funny. Jeff Sessions has been militantly, almost obsessively anti-marijuana since his early days as a politician. Back in the 1980s, he famously joked that he thought the Ku Klux Klan was, quote, okay, until I found out they smoked pot. Then Senator Cory Booker did this.
If confirmed, Senator Sessions will be required to pursue justice for women, but his record indicates that he won't. He will be expected to defend the equal rights of gay and lesbian and transgender Americans, but his record indicates that he won't. He will be expected to defend voting rights, but his record indicates that he won't. He will be expected to defend the rights of immigrants and affirm their human dignity, but the record indicates that he won't. America needs an Attorney General who is resolute and determined to bend the arc. Senator Sessions' record does not speak to that desire, intention, or will.
Senator Cory Booker testifying against Jeff Sessions at his confirmation hearing, saying in no uncertain terms that he was not fit to be Attorney General. Cory Booker was the first sitting senator to ever testify against one of his colleagues. And now Cory Booker is back with a bill that Jeff Sessions is bound to hate. Senator Booker proposed legislation today to legalize marijuana at the federal level and to punish individual states who do not pass their own laws to make it legal. It's a shot across the bow to an administration that has ramped up the war on drugs, and specifically the war on marijuana right out of the gate. Your move, Jeff Sessions. And joining us now is Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey, who proposed this racial justice bill to, among other things, end the federal prohibition on marijuana. Senator Booker, great to have you.
Well, first of all, there's a rank hypocrisy if you look at the people here that have tried marijuana, who've smoked marijuana, and that they're the very people sitting on the barriers for other people to do so legally. But more than that, when you have a situation where the two of the last three presidents have done much more severe drugs, admitted to it, what we see, unfortunately, is marijuana enforcement in this country is particularly targeted towards poor communities, particularly targeted towards minority communities, and it is clogging our jails and our prisons. It is actually reinforcing racial disparities in this country. It is a poverty trap because folks in college campuses, they're not worried. They joke and flout the law with little worry about repercussions. But you see teenagers having their lives destroyed, getting felony convictions, often in poor communities or minority communities,
for doing things that people in Congress themselves have done. So this is an outrageous situation we have in our country. It is a prohibition that's causing the problems, as we saw with alcohol prohibition, the violence that caused, the criminalization that caused. It's far past time that we legalize this. And then that doesn't include the people that desperately need this for their, whether it's veterans, whether it's people with PTSD, whether it's people with things like Gervais syndromes, falling into seizures. So I'm confident that the logic of this bill, the moves that 8 states have already made, the District of Columbia, the evidence that's coming back and violent crime drops, as well as actually revenue coming into the state, even the evidence with severe problems like opioid overdoses. We're already seeing preliminary evidence showing that those rates of death are dropping in areas where there's legal access to marijuana. I'm confident that we're on the right side of history. I think this is going to be a long battle, but this, as you called it, a shot across the bow, I call it a first step on a longer pathway towards economic justice, racial justice, more public safety, and really more common sense.
The bill is called the Marijuana Justice Act. The results are in for states who have medical marijuana available to patients, and the hospitalization rate for opioid abuse and dependence in states with medical marijuana are roughly 23% lower than states without legal access. Emergency room visits for opioid overdoses are on average 13% lower than states without medical marijuana programs. States with medical marijuana programs may have reduced hospitalization related to opioid pain relievers because people don't actually have to use those things to deal with their pain. They don't have to be prescribed opiates to deal with their pain. What does that mean? That means that there's less people using them, which means there's less out there. The problem with this is that cannabis is not legal for everyone to use, and we need to keep working towards this goal. If you would like to support Cannabis in the Capital, please visit our website at www.cannabisinthecapital.com. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube page, and follow us on social media at CIC420.
I'm a stoner, I'm a stoner, I'm a stoner. I'm a stoner, I'm a stoner, I'm a stoner. I'm a stoner, I'm a stoner, I'm a stoner. I'm a motherfucking stoner.
Let's talk about the stoner stereotype. All right, so we all know that everybody looks at the stoner. When you hear that word, you think of, somebody, all they do is sit around, smoke weed all day. They're non-productive. They're sitting around with the munchies, and just not doing anything productive, just totally getting stoned all day, can't think, no memory, just kind of not the smartest person, not a clean person. You just get this image, this bad image of a person who's a stoner. Stereotypes are things that can be hurtful to people. They are things that can be funny sometimes, and sometimes there's a lot of truth to them. But the reality of it is, as far as the stoners or people involved in a cannabis community, we are not just lazy people who sit around all day and just smoke weed and chase weed around. That's not who we are. We are a demographic of all different types of people. I mean, it runs all age ranges that you can possibly think of. I mean, we want to support responsible use, so we'll say 21 and up. But in general, a stoner could be anybody. I mean, you could sit here and you could walk out your door today and look at your neighbors, and I guarantee you 90% of them have either used cannabis once in their life, have tried it, or using it as we speak. But the subject has been so taboo for people to talk about. People don't talk about it. They kind of keep it quiet. And then they think, when they meet someone, because of the stereotype, they think, oh, well, they are this stoner, this person who, isn't responsible, you know, and has a bad picture of the person that they're speaking of. So we have to change that. Like, we can't keep allowing that to be how we're perceived, because that's not who we are. It's a false representation of who we are. It's a false representation of this community. And it brings me to speak on this thing called like the blunt challenge. I've been seeing these things. Apparently it's been going on for some time. You know, there's lots of videos of it on YouTube and different places or whatever. And, you know, whereas that stuff can be funny, you know, and we all can sit here and we can laugh and, you know, we think it's a joke and it's funny and everything. I mean, yes and no, because things like that, when it comes to legalization, can make it very difficult for us to prove our point. We're up against a lot. We're up against years and years of propaganda being preached into people's heads. And when we do things like go into a grocery store and light up a blunt in the middle of an aisle where people are in there, they're shopping, you got kids in there, you know, you've got stuff like that. That's just disrespectful and wrong. We shouldn't be doing things like that. You know, we should have some type of decorum and some type of respect for what it is that we're trying to get legalized. We're not just all a bunch of jackasses running around here doing dumb shit. That's not us. We're a community of all types of different people. And there are lots of people who are professionals, who are engineers, who are Olympic athletes, who are doctors and lawyers and people who are held into a high standard in society, into our communities, and they're stoners, but they can't come out and represent what it is because there's this stigma attached to it. And if we feed into that stigma, then we make it okay to look at us in that way. And it's not. It's not okay.
I'm a stoner, I'm a stoner, I'm a stoner. I'm a stoner, I'm a stoner.